Lesson 5-9, a review of decimal division. In this lesson, it's all going to come together. Looking at this page at a quick glance, you can see, questions 5 and 7 look a whole lot like fourth grade level long division, even problem 9 here. At the start of this unit, we started there, and then we quickly got into more advanced numbers, problems that looked like number 11, where you had a 4-digit dividend and a 2-digit divisor. And remember our strategy in dealing with this type of problem. We would look at the divisor and in our minds think about a more friendly number that we could get by using rounding. In this case, 17 is close to 20. And then we would be thinking about that rounded number to get us in the ballpark when we're doing our finding step of how many times the divisor goes into the dividend. Then we added our first twist. We looked at problems where you had a decimal point in the dividend or in the number inside the bracket. And then we looked at problems where you had a decimal point in the divisor or the decimal outside the bracket. And we're going to do a little bit of all of that today, along with some word problems at the end. So let's get started. In this page, I want to focus on numbers 9 through 15. When we are dealing with whole number by whole number division, like problems 9 or number 11, we're going to, if we have reached a point in our division where there is a remainder, that's okay to show the remainder. However, when we're dealing with division problems where there's a decimal, we're going to possibly extend the problem by adding zeros at the end and bringing them down until we get a final answer. So when we're doing division with decimals, keep going. Don't stop if there's a remainder. Number 9, 140 divided by 4. We're going to find how many times 4 goes into the 14. 3 times. 4 multiplied by 3 is 12. Let's subtract. 14 minus 12 is 2. Bring down the 0, and the new number that's formed is 20. Find. 4 goes into 25 times. Multiply. 4 multiplied by 5 is 20. Subtract. Nothing left over, nothing to bring down. We have our answer. 273 and 5/10 divided by 5/10. Notice that the divisor has a decimal. So our first step is to clear it out. How many pushes are needed? Whoop, 1 push. What we do to this side, we must do to the other. Whoop. Now we can rethink about this problem as 2,735 divided by 5. And if it helps you to rewrite it that way underneath, I know there's not a ton of space, you can. Or you can just kind of do one of these, right? And proceed. Let's find how many times 5 goes into 27. 5 times. Multiply that out. 5 times 5 is 25. Subtract. Bring down. Let's find how many times 5 goes into 23. 4 times. Multiply that out. Subtract. Bring down. Let's find how many times 5 goes into 35. 7. Multiply. Subtract. Nothing left to bring down, nothing left over. We have our answer. Number 11. 1,224 divided by 17. Let's find how many times 17 goes into 122. 17 is close to 20. 20 times 6 is 120. I'm going to do a side calculation multiplying by 6. Feels like that's close. Might be able to go higher. 6 times 7 is 42. 2 comes down, 4 gets carried. 6 times 1 is 6, plus the 4 is 10. Yeah, I think we can go one higher. Let's test out 17 times 7. 7 times 7 is 49. 9 comes down, 4 gets carried. 7 times 1 is 7, plus the 4 is 11. And that checks out. Let's subtract. 122 minus 119 2 needs to borrow. Let's bring down. How many times does 17 go into 34? This one I can do as mental math. 17 times 2 is 34 exactly. We have our answer. Number 12, 11 and 102 thousandths divided by 61 thousandths. Notice that the divisor has a decimal point. How many pushes are needed to clear it out? Whoop, whoop, whoop. 3 pushes. Whoop, whoop, whoop. 3 pushes. Now we have our new problem, 11,102 divided by 61. Let's find how many times 61 goes into 111. Well, 61 is close to 60. 60 times 2 is 120. Multiplying this by 2 is going to overshoot it, isn't it? So in this case, I know it's just going to go in one time. 1 times 61 is 61. Let's subtract that out. Let's bring down. About how many times does 60 go into 500? Well, 60 times 8 is 480. I'm going to test out multiplying by 8. That feels real close. And it is. Let's subtract across zeros here. And let's bring down. How many times does 61 go into 122? Can you do that as mental math? If you said twice, you're right on. Nothing left over, nothing to bring down, 182 all day. Moving on to our word problems below. 13, Georgia works as a florist. She has 78 daisies to arrange in vases. Each vase holds 9 daisies. How many daisies will Georgia have left over? So visualize. I'm going to draw my lovely vase here. Each of these vases holds 9 daisies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You might be wondering, why don't your daisies have anything on top? I don't have much room. Use your imagination. So we've got 78 daisies that we're putting into vases. Each vase holds 9. How many are left over? 78 divided by 9. Let's do it. 9 goes into 78 8 times. So I can fill 8 vases. And then do my subtract. And I'm going to have 6 daisies left over. 14, Julia is jarring tomatoes. She has 16 2/10 cups of tomatoes. Each jar holds 3 cups. How many jars will Julia need to hold all the tomatoes? Okay. Think about the situation. Think very carefully about what's being asked so that if there is a remainder, and I think there will be one, we know what to do with it or how to interpret it. Here, we have a decimal in the dividend, but the divisor is a whole number, so let's just insert it right where it lies and get started. Let's find how many times 3 goes into 16. 5 times. 3 multiplied by 5 is 15. Let's subtract. Let's bring down. Let's find how many times 3 goes into 12. 4 times. Let's multiply that out. And subtract. Nothing left to bring down. What does my answer tell me? My answer tells me that she can fill 5 jars all the way up to capacity, and she has a little bit left over beyond those 5 jars. This jar is going to be partially filled. So how many jars will she need? I got to round up, don't I? She needs 6 jars. 5 of those jars are going to be filled all the way, and that extra jar, that 6th jar, is only going to be filled partially, but she still needs 6 jars to hold all these tomatoes. 15, the area of a room is 58 square meters. The length of the room is 8 meters. What's the width? Okay. If we know one dimension, then we can take the area, which is 58, and divide it by the length in order to get the width. Let's find how many times does 8 go into 58? 7. 8 times 7 is 56. Subtract that out. 2. At this point, we would originally just show this as 7 remainder 2, but let's keep going. We want to find a measurement. You got a couple options here. You could say, well, Mr. Verbacher, hold on. 7 remainder 2 could be shown as 7 2/8, which could be shown as 7 1/4 foot. All right. If you want to do it that way and reason it out that way, that's fine. I'm going to show it as a decimal. I'm going to insert a decimal point there, insert a decimal point there, fill in the 0 there, bring it down. 8 goes into 20 how many times? Twice. 8 multiplied by 2, 16. Subtract that out. Bring down my next 0. 8 goes into 40, 5 times. 7 25 meters.